Hello and welcome to Farm Journal Live. I'm editor Clinton Griffiths from our Farm Journal newsroom here in northern Indiana, bringing you the latest and what's happening around the agriculture industry and relating to the coronavirus outbreak and its impact here. We'll get straight to some headlines today, the biggest of which having to deal with the meat and packing facilities around the country. President Trump ordering meat and poultry plants to stay open. It follows a wave of plant closures and slowdowns. The executive order signed by the president using the Defense Production Act, making meat processing now a part of critical infrastructure. It's an effort to keep those plants up and running and prevent a shortage of chicken, pork, and other meat on supermarket shelves. The White House saying in the order that the closure of a single large beef processing facility could result in the loss of over 10 million individual servings of beef in a single day. Kansas Senator Jerry Moran joining us now. And Jerry, the president using this executive order to keep these facilities up and running is something I think many of the industry were maybe a little surprised about, but also a little relieved about.
Well, there is relief. I'm very pleased. I called the president last week. He returned my call that day with the specific goal of letting the president know how serious things are in the meat processing industry, what it means to livestock producers, what it means to consumers at the grocery store. So this, again, it follows something that we got the president's attention. We have the president's attention, and I appreciate him making this declaration. It is important. We have large packing plants in Kansas. We employ about 18,000 workers here in that regard, about $10 billion economic activity, and about a fourth of the livestock, the beef side of the livestock industry is packed here in our state. Huge component, and the consequences we see are not just the employment in Kansas in regard to packing, but what it's doing to livestock producers and the prices, the markets. We've certainly had reports this week that packers are turning away livestock that had been delivered to the packing plants because there was just simply no place to go with the slow. We have not closed plants, those large plants in Kansas yet, but the slowdown in the processing is having a consequence that's of immense concern to livestock producers, to consumers, and to the state of the Kansas economy.
Yeah, I know once we start talking about food supply issues, it starts to get a little more attention. The president returning your call, issuing this executive order. Of course, you know, worker safety, a big part of this. How is that working with the CDC, making sure that we're ensuring safety at these facilities?
Well, I'm making certain we understand as best we can the executive order, and one of the things it does is reduce liability or eliminate liability for the companies. But still, we have to have a safe workforce, and that workforce has to feel comfortable in going to work. And so it doesn't mean with the sign of a signature of a pen that everything is fine. We've still got to make certain that the tests, the personal protection equipment, the spacing within the plant. In addition to, people who can't go to work because they may have contacted COVID-19 or they're quarantined because somebody in their family has, you also just have people who legitimately are concerned about going to work. And so what this means to me is that we need to continue to redouble our efforts in the safety, the well-being of the people who work in packing plants so that they are safe and that they feel safe in going to work. That's how we get meat processed. That's how we get the supply chain back in operation, and that means redoubling our efforts. Yesterday in Kansas, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, was at the plants in Kansas evaluating what the companies had done to secure their workplace, to make it more safe. Those are very important, and those are the things that need to continue. Testing, thermometers, it is PPE, gloves, gowns, masks, all the things that the distancing that will help keep a workforce safe.
We know that obviously that's a key component of all of this. Do we have any idea how long it's going to take? I know they've been working on putting these steps in place over the last few weeks and trying to ramp up to make sure that employees are safe.
Well, it is expected that Kansas is in a position, and our governor is going to announce guidelines for reopening, to whatever that means, reopening our state, the stay-at-home order modified beginning on Monday. And I know that communities, including those that have meat processing plants, are studying what that guidance is going to be and making those decisions. I would tell you that we know, there is evidence that tests have been increased, the amount of testing available in the counties in Kansas that process meat. So there's 5 or 6 counties that have received a priority opportunity to do more testing, and our public health departments are at work. So it's happening. I also know that more tests are being manufactured and being distributed. The challenge always in this issue is timing. Can we get them the tests where they need to be as quickly as they need to be there, so that we don't disrupt the economy and do greater damage to the livestock industry, plus the people who work in it.
Kansas Senator Jerry Moran joining us from his home there, talking about what's happening with this executive order in our packing facilities. Kansas, about a quarter of the nation's beef packed in that state. One of the other concerns I think a lot of employees are expressing here, or concerns that maybe be outside of the industry, is people don't know, an executive order does not mean it forces people to go to work, correct?
I don't think we can force people to go to work, nor should we. What it means is some opportunities for, one, recognize the importance of this industry. What I hope it means is a real focus on more testing, more PPE, more safety and security, so that the employees do go to work, can continue to go to work. And that is something that's important. Liability issues are apparently resolved by the executive order. The president is doing the right thing, but we still have to do all the other things. We shouldn't, and we can't, we don't force people to go to work. They need to feel comfortable and safe, and they need to be comfortable and safe.
Absolutely. We appreciate you taking a few moments with us, Senator Moran. Thank you for filling us in on what's happening there in your home state. An important job, an important part of what we hope to see happen in this ag industry. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the other livestock issues, livestock industry trying to cope with the fallout here, dropping cattle prices, holding calves in the field longer, feedlots longer, hog producers running out of barn space. It's a complicated picture, and here to help us sort through it, we have editor of Farm Journal's Pork, Jennifer Scheich, and Drover's editor, Greg Henderson. Jennifer, I'll start with you. Hog producers facing some unprecedented pressures right now. Where do we sit today, kind of midweek?
Well, the reports that I'm hearing are that hog producers are doing everything that they can to avoid last resort option of euthanizing pigs, because we're simply running out of space in the barns. And so we've been talking about ways that we can move pigs outdoors. That's not easy and has a lot of challenges for our industry, but there is information out there that we're providing to help people understand how to do that. I'm hearing of producers doing what they can to slow down growth with different feed rations and so forth. Basically, I'm also hearing stories of people sharing their loads, and if they've got space, they're taking other people's hogs to market as well. So we're really rallying together as an industry to do everything we can to prevent euthanizing hogs and keeping that protein out there for people to have.
Does this executive order give some hope to folks as they try to deal with what they're going to plan over the next week or 2 weeks, or is it still just the fact we've got slowdowns and shutdowns and we still don't know yet?
I think pork producers are looking for every reason they can to hang on and to have that hope. And so the response that I've received today is that people are optimistic. They have a lot of questions still, but they're hopeful that this will allow those plants to get back up and running. They know that it's not going to just happen overnight. They recognize the challenges, but they're optimistic that it will create opportunities and they can hold those pigs around their farms a little longer.
Greg Henderson, editor of Drover's, also on with us right now. And Greg, as you heard what Senator Moran had to say, talking about the importance of beef facilities there in his home state of Kansas, what your take on his comments about what the state is doing to keep those facilities up and running?
Absolutely. I think Kansas is taking the lead and trying to keep their plants open. It is so important to the Kansas economy and the beef industry as a whole. I think specifically what Senator Moran said that caught my attention was this is not a magic wand. These plants are not going to start running at 100% immediately. All of the efforts to keep workers safe, keep the plants running, there's still going to be a slowdown. Our biggest issue right now is we're not at the same level as the hog industry. We're not considering euthanasia at this point. The backlog is going to have to get a lot worse for that to happen. Our biggest problem is price discovery. This week we're seeing prices from 93 to 100. At the same time that CME futures today, April closes out tomorrow, they're at 88. So theoretically, those two are going to converge on closeout day. Where that's at, I think is anybody's guess.
I know you've been tracking the Sterling Profit Tracker there at Drovers for many years now. What is the latest? How is that looking as far as margins go?
Right. So the profit tracker is calculated by Sterling Marketing, who we have had a long relationship with. This is a cash basis, no risk management involved. Producers lost $260 per head last week on a cash basis. And Packers, as we know, the beef cutout soared higher last week. Packer profits were in that $770 per head range. Again, John Nalivka, who calculates those, emphasizes we don't know what the cost structure change at the packing plants has been since COVID-19. We know it has increased their cost. Still, we know that the Packer profits are excessive. They're likely to go higher this week, Clinton, as that choice box beef cutout is up another $50 from $50 or $80. It's $330 per hundredweight today.
$330 per hundredweight. Wow.
Yes.
I mean, I know I say wow, but we've been talking about this, and it just continues to rally.
It does, and we need to keep in mind that that's a negotiated trade as well between retailers and packers. Changes on this is that the steaks and roasts are not skyrocketing higher. It's the hamburger. It's the product that they're having trouble getting in the stores. The demand is high. Retailers are doing everything they can to find product. That's why they're bidding these prices up.
Jennifer Scheich there with Farm Journal's Pork. On the retail side of things, Jennifer, what are you hearing for pork in stores? Is it available? Are we having trouble sourcing it in some places?
Well, I had reports of a friend share this morning that they were at a large grocer yesterday and there was no meat on the shelf at all. The only thing that they could buy was hot dogs. And so, I'm hearing that we are finding those shortages. I know our local meat lab in town runs out of product in just about 10 minutes every week when they open up. So people are buying a lot because they're concerned. There's a lot of product out there, but how we get that to the retailer continues to be an obstacle.
As the pork industry talks about how they're going to handle this, what does the next few weeks look like as far as challenges go? What do you think producers have top of mind here over the next week or two as we try to sort through and keep these packers up and running and keep these loads moving through the system?
Well, the thing I keep hearing is it changes by the hour and they're just constantly having to reevaluate their plans. I mean, I hate to go back to euthanasia. It's not a topic that, it's something we don't want to have to face, but right now that's just the key thing. So we appreciate any support as an industry that we can get from the government and working together and how we can try to, utilize whatever space we can to be able to get these hogs processed.
And Greg, as we talk about from the livestock and the cattle side of things, obviously we're trying to figure out, what does this mean all the way down to the cow-calf producer? I would say at this time we're probably just seeing things left out on grass a little longer.
Well, certainly the stocker operators that are turning cattle out now, they have a few months before, and hopefully this is going to recover by then. Cow-calf operators we're in calving season now, and the majority of them will not be selling until fall. We still hope that things are going to turn around. It's not likely that we're going to see prices as good as they were last year, but hopefully we'll be out of this trough that we're in right now. It all depends on how long the packing plants struggle with this virus. And if we can get cattle moving through the feed yards, then there will be demand for feeder cattle again. Right now, that demand is, almost non-existent.
Pretty tough shape. All right, we appreciate you both for joining us here on Farm Journal Live. keeping us updated on the very latest and what's going on in the livestock markets. A couple other headlines to get to real quick. Oil prices on the rise today as stay-at-home orders begin to be lifted around the country. Gasoline demand up about 15% off its lows. That's also helping draw down some ethanol stocks off those recent record highs. The Energy Information Administration with a new report out today showing stocks of fuel ethanol at 26.3 million barrels. That is a 4-week run of increasing record high ethanol supplies. Now on the flip side, ethanol production fell another 4.5%, 537,000 barrels a day, a new record low. It hasn't been enough to push grain prices higher. However, corn futures sitting right at that $3 mark for May here midday. Wheat off double digits today. The Dow, however, up about 500 points in midday trade, although that may be adjusting as we go through the afternoon. And that's going to wrap us up for today's Farm Journal Live. Thanks so much for taking a few moments of your time to listen to us and join us. Of course, we'll continue to follow this story. You can go to agweb.com/coronavirus for the very latest in our coverage. I hope everybody has a great and safe day.
This season, rather than madness, opening days, or taking a break, the world is frozen, silenced by quarantines, isolated by distance, and edging on panic. But while work for you may have changed, out here, we're still going strong. Our season is underway. The crops will get planted, the livestock will be fed, and your food will continue to be grown, just like it's been for generations. There's plenty to worry about. But out here, social distancing is our specialty. American agriculture farms on, today and tomorrow, for our family and yours.